Okay, let's look at number 5. Number 5 says y equals negative cosine of 4x minus 3. So we need to find the amplitude, the period, the phase shift, and the vertical shift. So the amplitude comes from the number in front. We do have a negative, so we need to make sure we take an absolute value. I don't see a number there, so that means that there's a 1. So the absolute value of negative 1 is 1. The period is affected by the number in front of x. So this is 2 pi divided by 4, which simplifies to pi over 2. The phase shift would happen in parentheses with x. There's nothing there, so in this problem, there is no phase shift. That says none, even though my handwriting is bad. Vertical shift has to do with the number that's tacked on the end. It is not in the parentheses with x, so that means it is a vertical shift. So our vertical shift is 3. Since it's negative, it is going to be going down. From there, we can make a graph. So there is no phase shift, so once we draw the period on the graph, we don't have to worry about moving those numbers around anymore, so I don't need any room on the negative side of my x-axis. So it is going to go to pi over 2 and 0. Halfway in between 0 and pi over 2 is pi over 4. Halfway in between 0 and pi over 4 is pi over 8. And halfway in between pi over 4 and pi over 2 is 3 pi over 8. So we have accounted for, we've written out the period. Phase shift, there is none. We're not going to have to worry about that. Amplitude and vertical shift both have to do with the y pattern. So cosine starts at 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. So an amplitude has to do with the original number. The original number there in the front is negative 1. While the amplitude is a positive 1, the negative 1 is what tells us what to graph. So we're going to multiply our pattern by negative 1. So our new pattern will be negative 1, 0, positive 1, 0, negative 1. So all of our signs have changed, and the sign of 0 can't change, so that's just going to stay how it is. So the last thing to account for is the vertical shift. This is going to go down 3, so I need to subtract 3 to make a new pattern here. So I'm going to have negative 1 minus 3. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So those are all the points that are going to go on my xy axis. So I need to go as low as negative 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. So at 0, I'm going to start here. 0 is negative 4. Then I'm going to go to negative 3. Then negative 2. Then negative 3. Then negative 4. So my graph will look like this. And there's the graph of this function.